I'm Roy Lee Lindsay with the North Carolina Pork Council, and I want everyone to remember bacon makes everything better.
Welcome back to the David Glenn Show, now seen and heard exclusively right here on the North Carolina Sports Network. When we launched this network in 2023, there was one person I hoped would join this expanded multi-platform version of the David Glenn Show as our very first guest, and we are very thankful that he did. He's one of my favorite people, one of my favorite sports figures, and that's from an entire lifetime of watching and over these last almost 40 years now, getting paid to cover sports. As a player, he was an NHL All-Star, a universally respected team captain, an international gold medalist for his native Canada, and of course, a 2006 Stanley Cup champion as the captain of your Carolina Hurricanes. He had his legendary number 17 jersey retired and raised into the rafters here in Raleigh in 2011, the year after he retired as a player, and he was inducted into the Philadelphia Flyers Hall of Fame in 2015 and the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame in 2016. More recently, earlier this season, he was honored by the then governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, our recent guest here on the DG Show and another huge Caniac over the years, with membership in the Order of the Longleaf Pine, which is the highest honor that can be bestowed upon any civilian here in our great state. As a head coach, he has helped turn around a Hurricanes franchise that had missed the playoffs for 9 consecutive years, and now he has led them to 6 straight playoff appearances, including 2 trips to the Eastern Conference Finals. In 2021, he won the Jack Adams Award as the NHL's top head coach, and last May, he agreed to a 5-year contract extension with your Carolina Hurricanes. Coming out of the break for the Four Nations tournament, his Hurricanes have the 3rd most points in the Eastern Conference with just 13 regular season home games remaining, so get your Canes tickets now. As always, I will see you there for my season tickets at what's now called the Lenovo Center. Rod Brind'Amour, welcome back to the David Glenn Show, my friend, and thank you again for being here. How are you?
Hey, buddy, there's no time left for the show. You spent way too long talking about that stuff that nobody cares about, but I appreciate you, buddy.
Well, I appreciate you. I will never ask you to introduce me in any context, so I won't ask you to return the favor. Hey, if I wrote a book about your life and your story, and maybe I will someday, 25 years ago, at the time, a young Rod Brind'Amour, and it's almost exactly 25 years ago, a young Rod used the phrase, "the worst day of my life," to describe being traded from the Philadelphia Flyers to the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't know if this is me being all, sentimental or whatever, but is it possible that 25 years after calling something the worst day of your life, you could actually now describe it as at least one of the best days of your life?
Well, yeah, I don't remember that, no, but that's that was just a tough time, as you know, coming from where I was and playing and just, loving it there, then getting traded here, and it was just different. It was different back then.
Yeah.
So it was tough, but looking back on it, things happen for a reason. And like you just said, at 25 years, I'm still sitting here and enjoying every minute of it, and it's blessed that that day happened. So certainly wasn't the worst day of my life, but it's turned into something very, very special. And, we're living the dream still. So hopefully we can turn this into a few more years.
Hey, I mentioned Governor Cooper honoring you in person with membership in the Order of the Longleaf Pine earlier this season. Rod, I've been in this state since 1987, and for many years, I didn't even know what the Order of the Longleaf Pine was. Maybe you did. But some of the other names on that list, man, we're talking about Dean Smith, Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams. I mean, the astronaut John Glenn, no relation to me, he's on the list. The actors Danny Glover and Andy Griffith. You got Oprah Winfrey on that list. You got Michael Jordan, the GOAT, is on that list. What did that honor mean to you,
You know what?
as that transplanted Canadian to be honored here in North Carolina?
Well, yeah, I'm a transplant. I'm American citizen now, so we probably have to put that on the record.
Sure.
But I tell you what, special, right? Like, Governor Cooper's just been great to us. Supported us before he was governor, and then all the time through it, and just great hockey fan. And I was humbled by it. I mean, I don't deserve that, but you know what? Nice of him to bestow that on me. What it says, though, it says a lot about where hockey's come, and what we've done in this community and in this area to really, I think, galvanize the fan bases, and give them one team to cheer for. We know how it is here with the just unbelievable college venues, and to be able to have the one team that we can all call ours has been special. And we've been good. We've turned the corner a little bit here to where we're relevant, and that was the whole goal of this. Was we want to win. Trust me, that's all we talk about. It's all we're pushing for. But we want to have a chance, right? And I feel like we've done that. We've turned the corner to where it wasn't just a one-off. Every year you can say, hey, they got a chance, and that's what the people in this community want. And, I think Roy just kind of summed it all up by saying, hey, here you go. It's not really about me as much as this team and what it means to the community.
Here's one more thing that is about you, and it probably will embarrass you, but one of your former teammates with the Flyers, Chris Therien, who's now a hockey commentator, recently described you to the Philadelphia Inquirer this way, quote, "Rod was the most dedicated hockey player and person I have seen to the sport of hockey in my entire career, and to be honest, it's not even close. There is no close second." That's a guy who's been living and playing and breathing hockey for decades, and there's no close second. I have a two-part question for you on that, because most people do not have anything close to what Chris Therien just described you have. As a parent, what do you do if one of your own children does not match your standard? And as a coach, what do you do if one of your own players does not live up to that legendary standard?
Well, first of all, he's being nice. We were former teammates for a long time. I mean but that was, I always felt like if I couldn't be the best player, I can't control that. I mean, my talents are what they are. I'm not going to be outworked by anybody. And so everywhere I went, that was just, since I was a kid, who's the hardest working guy in this room? And then I'd be, okay, not anymore. Like that's just it. And that's where I always kind of operated. So at least I knew things didn't work out. It was never because, I didn't put the work in. And that to me is what I try to, I guess it's pushed across in this room, in our locker room here, is like, look, we're going to do our best. And if it doesn't work out, there's honor in that. Like, you're not going to feel great. You're going to go home feeling like crap that we lost and it didn't work out. But there's way worse. Like, it's way worse going home knowing you left something on the table. And I feel like our group over the years, we haven't quite got there yet, but we've never gone home thinking that man, we left something on the table. Our guys, I mean, I've been proud of my group. Every year we've, fallen a little short, but it's not from a lack of effort and, preparation, all that. They've done what they had to do. So that's kind of where we come from. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, but the dad thing, that's a whole nother question.
It is. It is.
I got 2 kids playing hockey right now. And, I try to be a dad first, but it's hard. It's hard when I see, something I know they got to do better. And I'm like, golly, but, it's a tough balance, but I think, I'm doing okay at it, I think.
I wonder, do you think maybe you don't even know where it came from in you to walk into that room as a young guy and say, whoever was the hardest worker, he's now going to be the second hardest worker. Maybe your parents, your environment, some coaches or whatever contributed to that. But I wonder, I'm the parent of multiple kids, and their DNA is very different, very unique to them, right? And you're the parent of multiple kids. I'm sure they have all different personalities. Do you believe, like, DNA... with your hockey players, regardless of their DNA, they better meet your standard because you're their boss. As a dad, it's different. Do you believe like stuff like that is partly in your DNA, and part of that is, of course, how you choose to live your life every day?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think like you said, every kid's a little different, and even though they're their dad, and you wonder how come one kid can be like this, but that's okay. There's still things that translate all the way across, right and wrong. Work ethic. I don't care what your DNA is. That should always be there. How they accept that, how they go the next step, that's different. Some kids you can't put it in them. Some kids are a little tougher. Some kids are just letting you want to be tough. We all want our kids to be, but maybe it's not quite for you, but I still think the other stuff, the intangibles, the standards that we talk about, the right and wrong, your moral fabric, all that stuff should always be there. And, that's part about being a parent. Your kids. I think I'm lucky in the job I have. I have 20 kids, in here, and that you got to know, we all have the same standards, but you got to know each kid, and they all tick a little differently. And that's your job, is to kind of figure out that, or my job, to do. And that's what actually is exciting, because they're not all the same. And, so it's getting to know them, getting that relationship, forging that, and trying to get them to be the best they can be.
Rod Brind'Amour joining us on the David Glenn Show here on the North Carolina Sports Network. I try to find questions that I haven't asked you in your dozens and dozens of visits over many, many years. I don't think I've asked this. February includes Valentine's Day, among other things. I don't know your anniversary or your kids' or wife's birthday, but I wonder if a big day or special occasion happens during hockey season, do you get any kind of free pass or benefit of the doubt, or is Amy looking for that Valentine's Day, whatever, or birthday or anniversary, whatever, just like the rest of us have to deal with?
We're the same. And you just reminded me, because today is Valentine's Day. I'm going to have to say something really nice about my wife today. And then because she is great. But we're a very, very normal family when it comes to that. Amy, we have, believe it or not, we have chickens. She raises some chickens, and those are in the backyard. And I mean, I don't know how I got roped into that, but that's something that we have. And I think we're very, very normal family. I mean, we got stuff that has to get done. Amy takes care of it. I'm lucky that way. And I'm sure you understand how that works.
Hey, before you signed that 5-year contract extension last year to stay with the Canes, it was great. You were very candid with me about, Tom Dundon's going to save every penny and nickel that he can. You were very candid about your wife, Amy, being kind of on you. Roddy, all these other coaches make these mega millions and you deserve more, yada, yada, yada. And you even and Tom was very candid with us about, negotiating with a guy who he knows how much you like it here, which you told us drives down your price accidentally, right? But in the end, it seemed like you guys at the time, Don Weldell was kind of the middleman. It seemed like everything worked out fine. Was Amy happy with the final number? And how would you describe just how it all came together?
Yeah, I mean, that's, it got a little interesting, I'll say, but I think, I know Tom, he's the ultimate businessman, and he's what makes him good at that is he can separate, your friendship from the business thing, which is, I have a hard time doing that. And so I knew he put his business hat on, and he was going to grind me down. And Amy's, of course, the great wife she is, she was like, oh, I don't have to live here. But meanwhile, I know she does, because if you want to see anyone, a North Carolinian, that's my wife. Trust me. And she's like, no, we'll go wherever. I go, no, I know that's Croc. You love the beach. You love this area. There's zero chance that's what you want. So she was supportive, and it worked out. Stuff, contracts are, no one likes to deal with it, but that's kind of how it works. It's part of the business.
When you say it got interesting, was there a moment where you wondered if it would get done?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It got close. I mean, it got pushed right to the wire. And, then all of a sudden other teams start going, wait a minute, you're not signed. And we're into the end of the playoffs. And they're like, what? And we're only, we got 2 weeks left before you're actually a free agent. All of a sudden, the phone call, they don't start coming, but they do, if you know what I mean, through the back channels. And you're just kind of like, oh, I hope this doesn't get to that. It worked out. I'm happy to be here, obviously, and you live here too. I mean, it's a great area, it's great people, but we have a great team, and something I want to see through.
The North Carolina Sports Network's coverage of the Carolina Hurricanes is brought to you by our good friends at Atlantic Tire and Service, where my family and I and all of us here at the North Carolina Sports Network take all of our vehicles for routine maintenance, service needs, and a world-class selection of new tires. Atlantic Tire and Service, your one-stop tire and auto repair provider with highly trained technicians and a sales and support staff second to none. It's grown to 6 Triangle area locations, 2 in Raleigh, 2 in Cary, 1 in Durham, and 1 in Wake Forest. You can learn more by visiting AtlanticTireOnline.com. In sports, we talk a lot about impact players who make a positive difference. When it comes to our state's economy, the North Carolina pork industry is a true MVP. Each year, the pork industry plays an important role in supporting rural communities across our state. It contributes more than $10 billion a year to the North Carolina economy and supports more than 44,000 jobs. Learn more about their positive impact at ncpork.org. The North Carolina Pork Council, the foundational partner of the North Carolina Sports Network. You're a funny combination as a guest because you're very open about most things, at least with me, and I'm sure some of the others that you've had relationships with in the media, but you really don't like talking about yourself when the spotlight is on you. And it's a really interesting dichotomy because you're not closed down when you get to talk about your players, your family, all these, your state, all these other cool things. I do have to ask another question about you, though, because back in December, you became the fastest coach in NHL history to 300 victories. Now, Roddy, this league is over 100 years old, right? Like, there have been a lot of freaking great coaches in this great league. And I know you're going to give credit to your players and your staff, and you can use this platform to do that again right now. But is there any sense at all when you saw that it took Rod 488 games to get to 300 wins? That's, again, the most in NHL history. Is there any sense of validation to your approach to coaching, or is it just like another number and another milestone and questions you don't feel like answering?
Well, I like what you just said, actually, the validation part of your coaching, because actually when I heard that, the 300, I'm like, damn, that, like, I thought it would happen quicker. Like, I just think of all the losses that we've had over the last, years. I'm like, we should have won that game. We should have won that game. I'm like, and then I hear you say, oh, that's the fastest to 300. I'm like, damn, like, I mean, we're doing pretty good. But the validation part to how we do things, like, we get a lot of criticism, I get it. You haven't won, but it's hard to win the whole thing. And,
it is.
And especially when you look at that time of year, when we bowed out, what was the reason? Was there other circumstances? And almost every year it's been, man, this guy was out of the lineup and that guy, an injury, it's that we didn't really ever get to see our full group go at it, but that happens. That's just the way it goes. But when I see the validation part, it's not so much in that, it's how I see other teams play. How I've seen our game, we've established over 6.5 years here, and then all of a sudden I see, well, that team's doing that, and then that team's doing that, and all of a sudden there's 20 teams playing the way we play. That's where the validation comes in.
I know you know this, but I want to make clear to just the viewers and listeners. A lot of times in sports, it's hard to compare apples to apples because, like, the season was shorter 50 years ago, or there weren't like 2 points to the winner and then 1 point to the overtime loser. So, like, it's just hard to compare sometimes 2025 versus whatever, 1950. The way your record stands, it lasts for all of eternity, because whether you were a coach in 1917 or 2025, it's still 488 games that it took you to get to 300. So I don't know if you're a numbers guy like that, but It does equate eras in ways that other records do not equate eras. You know what I mean?
I do, and that's a good way to put it too. Listen. At the end of the day, you said, "Oh, I'm not going to talk about me." It's not, because we have an unbelievable group we put together, and I have to say, I have the best staff. You know how coaching works in the pro leagues, in any leagues, really. But it's, the coach has his finger on everything, but you better have good people around them, or you're toast. You're not gonna do well. And I have unbelievable guys here, and have for a long time. I got the best video coach in the world, who's been around this league for longer than anybody. And it's like, we're just like, we fit like a glove. Like, he knows exactly what I'm thinking, what I need to see, what I need to tell the players. And the pre-scout, which is mostly his job, and it's Chris Huffine I'm talking about. I've been doing this for 6.5 years. I've never once been surprised by something that the other team's done, because I've seen it. He told me it was coming, and now it's up to me to relay it to the players. And so
that's awesome.
That in itself is worth, I can't even tell you how much that's worth. So, and I go down the list with Jeff Daniels, who's been in the organization forever, and we got Tim Gleason here, who watched him play, and he's the heart and soul too. I mean, it's just, we get good people, and that's how you have success. It's keeping those good people around, and then I do the same thing with the players. And listen, it's a fight, with the analytic community and this and that, where, hey, it doesn't show up. It doesn't show what's in here, and you got to keep that. You got to understand that. Yeah, the numbers, but there's more to it than that. And so I think we've done a nice balance of that, and we definitely got to make sure we continue to do that.
You knew I grew up with the Broad Street Bullies and all the fighting in Philadelphia. I have no complaints about how you, even as a season ticket holder, about how you have built the Canes. Am I psychotic for occasionally wishing that Tim Gleason were in uniform and one of those chippy nights? I know there's a handful of Canes that will fight. If I'm Rod Brind'Amour, I'm telling Andrei Svechnikov, who's about as ripped, it's like intimidating to stand near the dude. I imagine he could hurt people the way you could hurt people back when you played. But if I were you, I would tell Andre, I don't want you doing that. It doesn't help the team. Do you ever feel that? Like, I wish I could throw Gleason out there just to send a message.
Wow, he wants to get out there too.
I know he does.
Listen, that's still part of it. Would I say we'd love to have a guy like that? Yeah, of course. I think every team would. I mean, you're always looking for those guys, but it still have to be the right fit. It can't just be a tough guy. That's, you got to be able to play, and he has to be a good person. He has to fit to everything that we do. And if it's not there, it's not there. And, listen, the game's changed, as we know.
Yeah.
It's not like it was in those days. And I think it's better for it. I mean, yeah, you're missing out some scraps, and that, everybody likes a good fight to watch. I get it. But the game itself is 100 times better. I mean, the skill level and the pace, and the things that guys can do with the puck now, it's advanced, and so you have to advance with it. And I think we've done a fairly good job of that.
I don't know if this ever hits your radar, but The Athletic does a poll every year of more than 100 active NHL players, and they give the players anonymity, so that guys are just willing to be more candid with their answers if they know their name's not going to be attached to it. And the Canes popped up in 2 categories. Let me know if you saw this at all. But one was, they were asked which head coach they would like to play for most, other than whoever their head coach actually is at the time. And the top 3 answers were John Cooper of the Lightning, Paul Maurice of the Panthers, and you. Does that sort of thing mean anything to you?
Not really. Not really. I know the other. I thought you were going to go the other way.
I'm going to ask you the other one in a second.
The other one. You go ahead with the other. Yeah, the players poll. Whatever. Guys, they think guess what they hear, right? Because if you said it was voted by guys that you're not your teammates. I mean,
that's good though. That's good.
You want that. You definitely want that. But whatever.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. You don't want to talk. You don't want to talk about yourself. I get it, but I think it matters, man. But
those 2 guys have won Stanley Cups, and so that's the easy one. And I haven't yet as a coach, so I guess that's good that I can be, still considered there, because everybody wants to play for a winner, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
The other one was the players were asked the worst facilities in the NHL, despite some improvements to the visiting team locker room. I wonder, like, does it bother you in any way, or could it be a good thing that visiting players are complaining about their accommodations?
Well, it's yeah, they have fixed it up a little because they had to, but for years it was like we had the worst visiting locker room setup. And it didn't bother us. I know Donnie, when he was here, we'd always kind of laugh about it. And it's like, that's a good thing, like you want them to be uncomfortable. And as a visitor, it's hard enough to play in our building with the fans and, the atmosphere, and you might as well make it just, crappy for them to be there at all. And so I don't think they put a lot of emphasis on trying to fix it up until they had to. But there's also the other side of it. You do want to, players to think that, the whole top to bottom is done right. So, technically we weren't doing that right, but I'm not sure that didn't help us in actuality.
Rod Brind'Amour is with us on the David Glenn Show. So 25 years ago, you were part of that mid-season trade with Keith Primo and you coming to Carolina. 25 years later, one of the bigger mid-season trades we've ever seen. Mikko Rantanen comes to the Canes. Marty Necas and Jack Drury, both now with the Colorado Avalanche. What was your input to Tom Dundon or Eric Tulsky, your new GM, who is a big analytics guy, prior to that deal going down?
Yeah, I think not that much. Probably least amount of any of the deals that we've had. I know Tom he was really wanting to pull this off and get I don't know how you want to describe Rantanen, but a 100-point guy, like have that's kind of what we've been missing over the years, is a guy that you can just look at and go, that guy's going to produce. And so that's kind of where it all came from. Tough to see guys leave, like the impact players that left, because we talked about this, they're good people, right? Like we've had them for a long time, and you kind of raised them into this game and watched them grow as people and as players. And then they were big parts of what we were doing. Like if you watched us every night, like Netzi was our home run hitter, and Jack Drury was our, solid as they come. And people don't understand that's that utility, player that anywhere you got need, boom, it's taken care of. And those are reliable guys, which is why people want them, so tough to see those guys leave. Obviously, we also got Taylor Hall brought in that deal. So, and that's a former MVP of the league, and so it's kind of an exciting time too, to see how to make these guys it's got to fit, we got to get them up to speed, and we're hoping that it push us over the top.
Michael Berard, Managing Director Investments with the Founders Group at Stifel, works with a select group of high net worth individuals and institutions to develop and implement investment plans tailored to their specific objectives and risk tolerances. If you are interested in highly personalized, well-researched guidance and outstanding personal service, you can contact Michael at 984-364-2002. That's 984-364-2002. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE. If you are anywhere near Wilmington, North Carolina, and looking for a little live music, a cold beer, a tangy slushie, a fun crowd, or just a taste of the good life at the beach, Jimmy's Bar in Wrightsville Beach is the place for you. Located on North Lumina Avenue, just one block from the sand and waves of the Atlantic Ocean, Jimmy's features a full bar with nightly beer and drink specials, and it hosts musical performers almost every day of the year. One more fun fact, Jimmy's annual Children's Bike Drive, which started in 2017, now distributes more than 1,000 bicycles and helmets per year to young people in the Wilmington area and beyond. Jimmy's Bar, your home away from home on Lumina Avenue in Wrightsville Beach. Rantanen obviously was in a state of shock after he got traded. And I have no idea if he liked it here. I have no idea if he loves your system or whatever, but he clearly wanted to stay in Colorado, and he was really shaken up just as a human being by this deal. How do you view your role as his new head coach when it comes to whether he does like your style or not, or even if he likes living in North Carolina or not, because those things could matter a lot when it comes to whether he's willing to re-sign with the Canes.
Well, there's the key, and you just touched on it. I mean, it's hard because unfortunately, too, when he showed up here, we had a weird schedule on the road. We weren't home. And then we got a whole sickness ran through our group, so we couldn't practice, and it kind of came through a real tough time. And then he got banged up at the end and missed the game, and so it's been a tough kind of start for him as far as, you know, kind of seeing what we're all about. North Carolina, the weather sucked all of a sudden.
Yeah.
everything that was, it kind of reminded me when I got here 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I had the snowstorm and I got stuck in a hotel for 2 weeks. I couldn't move. You know, I was like, what am I getting into here? So I kind of can relate. You know, the difference there was I was under contract. So I couldn't go anywhere. He's not. So you know, you can't force that stuff. Like, I can't sit there and, you know what I mean? Like, push it. It's going to happen naturally as our relationship grows. But I mean, the time is ticking, and that's the unfortunate part. So hopefully, you know, we get the fit starts to roll for him, and he starts feeling comfortable, and then, you know, we go through a good playoff run with him, and you know what that's like, and then he'll want to, you know, make this his home for the rest of his career, because really that's what this is about. So, you know, we'll see how that all transpires. Hopefully it works out.
A few more quick things and we'll get you out of here. One of the cool things about your visits with us, I give you a lot of credit for this. You know, the old saying coaches use all the time, be where your feet are. There are guests that, and sometimes higher profile guests, you can tell while they're with you, they're thinking of the next thing they're doing that day. And you are always engaged, which I appreciate. The reason I bring that up is that I would not want to interview in game. Like, as much as I like you and I think you like me, I would be like holding the microphone as far away from my body because Rod might bite me. You know, poor Hannah Yates. And even sometimes you kind of look like you're in a rush when you're chatting with the guy I know you love, Trip Tracy. Just give me a sense of, like, are you annoyed by those things? Do you wish they weren't a thing? Do you see the value that the TV partners at least believe it adds to the broadcast?
Oh yeah, I mean, Trip, we're brothers.
I know.
But I'll just tell you why I always run out of there. I do the timing of that is like, we pre-tape that obviously before the game. It's 5 to 5, but I have a team meeting at 5. So I'm going, they're all waiting in there. And so I'm like ripping out to make sure you get to the team meeting. So that's why I always run out of there.
Okay.
But I always love my talks with him. Hannah, I mean, that's part of the gig, right? You got to, in between the periods or in between the TV timeout, you're talking, and it's the, you know, it's the same standard stuff. So that's why it's kind of, you know, how's your team doing? What do you got to do different? You know, I try to, you know, be as direct as I can, as honest as I can with it. But it's kind of, you know, during the game, your mind's going
right.
You know, as that TV thing comes up, I'm already thinking, okay, what line's he going with? What am I going to go with? Are we going to run an ozone face-off play? Is it like? And then all of a sudden I go, oh, I got to go over here and do that. It kind of, you know, that's where your head is on that. So, but no, I get it. It's part of the, you know, NHL, especially in the playoffs. They got you mic'd up. They're doing all this stuff, but that's what they need to do to entertain the people, and that's what sells our game. So we got to do what we got to do.
One more thing that fits that description are your post-game locker room videos. You can almost guarantee that the coach is going to be short, and I know why you do that. As a former player, doesn't want to hear a coach blabbering on forever. You can guarantee your social media staff is going to have to give the horn through several of your expletives, and you can guarantee you're going to give out a hat, give out a shirt, and make some reference to working with Billy, you know, after the post game. What is your mindset in those moments, and how might they be different if you were not on camera the whole time?
Yeah, well, so I mean, I'm tell you honestly, I don't like that time for the cameras, you know. So that's changed now. Like when it started, you know, it was a little different, and now I know that there's a camera on, so I'm a little cautious what I say, even though I do drop the occasional F-bomb and that. But I mean, the rest of the message is, I usually save it for a little bit later time, because there's some stuff that shouldn't be out there, you know. But I do try to be candid as I can and get something across. I always just like to end the game with a message, and I go in if we lose too. They just don't show the camera. And just to kind of sum up what's happened so we can move on. Like we want to turn the page, and that's why you talk about the reference to Billy. Like we're working out because we're thinking about the next game. It's recovery, but we might be getting a lift in. It's for the next game. So that game's over. Like literally that moment. Now we'll go back and review the tape, and we'll have some clips the next day for the guys. But I want them thinking, all right, good job. And especially on a win, we're enjoy each other's company. We just went to war here for a few hours, but now we're already thinking about the next thing, and trying to get better. So that's just kind of the philosophy behind it. I get it too. People like, you're just bringing people into the room, right? And that's sells the game, and that's why we got to do it.
I don't know how often you get to be a fan. We know you married into a Wolfpack family. Obviously, you love the NC State Wolfpack. You share an arena with them. When it comes to something like Four Nations, you have mixed emotions about that. You don't want to see anybody get hurt, but you understand the cool nature of you represented your country all the way to a gold medal. How does it work as an American citizen, a native-born Canadian, and you actually have your own players, guys you love, on 3 of the 4 teams? Like, I guess, can you even cheer?
Yeah, well, yeah, I do. I cheer for my guys, and I'll probably just from watching it so far, it's pretty obvious. 2 teams are pretty stacked. Like, they're all good, but man, that's impressive to watch. I'm hoping we get to Canada, US, because it's just the lineups are just so
they're
amazing.
Crazy.
Like, just you couldn't get any better than what they're throwing out there, and I'd love to see that. That hockey. So, but to your other point, you do kind of want to get through it. You're like holding your breath. Like just every time Slavin was out last night, I'm just like, I saw him hit, and I'm just like, get through it. But it's a great experience for these guys. I look at Seth Jarvis playing for Team Canada, sitting there with that, riches of just talent. Yeah. And just, what he's going to soak in just by being around there, I can only imagine how that's going to help him moving forward. So that's a huge plus for him.
So I can't identify with this because I've always been, born American, raised American, lived in America. Like, what would you feel as Canada plays the USA?
Well, it's tough, right? Obviously I played all my international hockey for Canada. But I've been in the U.S. since I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
Every penny I've made has gone, I've paid taxes in the U.S. I'm married American. My kids are all U.S. citizens. I'm not going back to Canada anytime soon. Like, this is home. So it is kind of, interesting to watch it. I guess, to be honest, I'm kind of right. I can't lose here. Like, if Canada wins, that's, my blood is in that. But
you'll be happy. Yeah.
I'm like I said, I'm full on U.S. citizen, so I've been here, and what a great country. It takes a lot of slack for a lot of things, but I'm not moving. You know what I mean? And there's the reason that people are coming in here in droves. So
it's probably not a perfect parallel, but long ago, as a guy who grew up rooting for the Flyers, at some point through getting to know you and your teammates and the owners and the GMs and the other coaches, of course, if the Canes play my childhood Flyers, I'm rooting for the Canes. There's no doubt about that. But am I still happy for my family and friends back at home when the Flyers win? Yeah, I'm still happy. Again, you put the whole born in Canada thing, that's a whole different element, but I get it. On the way out here, what is your final message just about what you guys need to do between now and what is hopefully your 7th consecutive playoff appearance to maximize your chances in the postseason?
Yeah, it's going to be, we get back to work here next week, and it's work. We got to get cranked up and push to the end here, and tons of games coming up. Like this March and April is just stacked. So we don't want to take a step back, and it's how are we going to get better? I feel like, we got another step. We've been kind of looking for it all year. I feel like we've been okay, but like there's another level that we have, and we got to find it. So it's going to be pushing for that, getting better at these little areas that I know we can get better at, and then the fit. Right, we mentioned that already about a couple of guys we brought in. We got to get the fit just moving right, them up to speed so they're feeling comfortable. That's only going to help us, and then then we'll see where it all lays out. But we want to keep pushing and getting better, and come out of the gate flying. So we got some. I don't know if guys will be watching this show, but we got some work coming in these 4 days of practice before we get going again, and looking forward to it.
His name is Rod Brind'Amour. He coaches the Carolina Hurricanes. 13 remaining regular season home games at the Lenovo Center. I will see you there, and certainly this man will be there for all of those as well. Rod, as always, man, thank you very much for the time. Best wishes to you, your team, your family. You're just cherished by me and my family, so it's great to chat with you again.
Anytime, buddy. You got it. See you, Davey. Appreciate it.
You got it.